Man, how are we doing, everybody? How are we doing? We doing good? What are we thinking? Just a chill night, not much going on, right? Nothing. Oh no. We are live after apparently I have to clear my throat. The 2025 Coke Zero Sugar 400. This race was 160 laps, no overtimes in this, 3 hours, 3 minutes, 18 seconds, 44 lead changes, 8 cautions for 39 laps, and a margin of victory of 0.031 seconds. The margin between the top 5 under 1/10 of a second. They have the playoffs up right now, and we'll put those in a bit later. On-air production meeting is I basically this is how I do it each week. But I want to know in the chat, what did you think out of 10? Did you really like this race? Did you think that it was a little overrated, or are you just all out happy about it? I'm curious to see, and I'm going to give you guys a moment so I can see exactly what you're saying in there. I just want to make sure I get this result put in, but I'm looking and I'm seeing some positivity after a Daytona race with the next gen car. I am seeing actual real positivity in this race. I had said that, in my opinion, this race reminded me much more of the 2013 to 18 Gen 6, before they really changed it up, before they had the giant ass spoiler, before they had all of that. Right. And I'm seeing like there's 4 out of 10. This was bad, is what I'm seeing. NBC is done. I see 9.12. I see 8.8. I loved it. 9.10, 8.5. Let's see. They didn't crash out of 10. You know what? After what we've seen a few times with this race, 12 out of 10. God, it's going so quick. Personally, I would give it probably an 8. I thought it was the best Daytona race in the next gen era. I know everyone's going to talk about last year and the great finish and the crashes at the end and all that. But what I liked about tonight, and it's crazy, 2 weeks in a row, a short track and a super speedway that's not Atlanta. I'm actually really positive about this. I probably an 8.5, somewhere in there. What I really liked about this, though, was the fact that drivers were able to make real moves out there. It wasn't like I was just, watching guys be completely gridlocked the whole time. It wasn't like it was just all fuel saving the whole time. As I'm also putting in the playoff order, since NBC went off the air. We'll all hang out here if you don't have Peacock, which I know a lot of y'all don't, because, well, let's be honest, it ain't that good. But no, I mean, I was honestly impressed how improved I thought the racing was year over year. I'm gonna turn the TV off. No point in having it on when the race ain't on anymore. I get some of y'all say it sucked. I get that. And I know people are also disappointed their guy didn't get in. The poll is up, by the way, on my channel, and it's overwhelmingly positive. Now, I think part of that is a reflection on what we've had, but I think it's also a reflection of the fact that I think this was a good race. Sorry, I do. I thought it was a good race. We had handling be an issue. We had drivers be able to make a difference. We had dominant cars. It wasn't like it was just gridlocked and then it's like, oh, someone makes a mistake, you make the move up there. No, man. Like, Joey Logano, in my opinion, was the one to beat in this race. Right. He was able to make moves that not many others were able to make. He was able to go into different lanes, work his way forward, going in back and forth. And listen, I know a lot of y'all aren't going to be happy. That's just the way that the internet is. That's the way NASCAR fans are. And I get it. Some people just don't naturally like super speedway. Totally get that part. But push come to shove, when it comes to how the super speedways have been with this car, I'm sorry, I will take this. I think this was a step in the right direction, especially the fact that this is the only time it hasn't been Atlanta that we've had some kind of positivity like this after a race. Now, I'm standing by. I'm standing by it. I'm standing firm with it. I really think that this was a great step in the right direction. Now, going through, I'll read off the playoffs before we go into the results, just for those who want to know. Kyle Larson is plus 26. After that is William Byron, tied with him, plus 26. After that, we have Denny Hamlin, plus 23. From there, it is Blaney plus 20, Bell plus 17, SVG only plus, I believe, 16. Wow, that's actually a lot closer than I thought it'd be. From there, Elliott is only plus 7 now on the cut line, which is a huge change on his part. From there as well, Briscoe is plus 4. Bubba Wallace is plus 2 in 9th. Cindric tied with him plus 2. Chastain is in 11th plus 1. Logano tied with him. He is also plus 1. And a win would have really helped tonight, that's for sure. Barry is minus 1 in 13th. Reddick makes it in by the grace of God and by the racing gods, I guess. He is minus 1 as well. Austin Dillon is 15th. After having his win, he is minus 2. And Alex Bowman, the last man standing, with that last second pass, he is minus 5. He's in now, so we'll put that on the bottom. Let's go through the finishing results of this race, see where your favorite driver finished. Ryan Blaney gets the victory. Daniel Suarez second, minus 0.031 seconds. Justin Haley minus only about 5/1000ths more in third, and then another 100th back to Cole Custer in fourth. Eric Jones, he had a valiant charge at the end, ran incredibly well through tonight, but unfortunately got shuffled out on his end, was not able to make it all the way back up for the comeback win. He gets 5th. Kyle Larson is in 6th. 7th is Chris Buescher, out of the playoffs, and I believe probably around the top 10 in points as we run. Ty Gibbs 8th, Josh Berry 9th, and Chase Elliott the top 10. Then Gilliland in 11th, McDowell in 12th, Bell in 13th, Preece and Chastain the top 15. Preece, again, another one that was up there, but got shuffled out. From there, SVG 16th, ran incredibly well for a super speedway. He is definitely improving, that's for sure. John Hunter Nemechek in 17th, Keselowski 18th, Byron back in 19th, and rounding out the top half of the field, top 20 finish, Cody Ware gets a 20th place run, led 23 laps tonight. I have to write that down right now. 23 laps led for Cody Ware. Tyler Reddick, 21st, limps home, but was with Bowman's wreck locked in. Ty Dillon, 22nd. Chase Briscoe all the way back to 23rd. Austin Dillon, 24th. Denny Hamlin, last one on the lead lap, 25th with that ailing car. 1 lap down for AJ Allmendinger in 26th. And I'm sure I saw a lot of y'all incredibly, incredibly happy that Joey Logano spun out of the lead, finishes 1 lap down in 27th. Joey Gase in the 28th spot. He is 3 laps down. Mears comes back for a 29th place finish, 4 laps down. Austin Hill, 30th, minus 5. Zane Smith, minus 6. BJ McLeod out in 32nd. Kyle Busch, 65 laps down, but he did finish the race. Last one on track. He gets a 33rd place finish. The rest of these guys are out. Hocevar, 34th. Stenhouse, 35th. Bowman, 36th. Nail biter time for him. Bubba Wallace, 37th. Noah Gragson, 38th. Austin Cindric in the 39th spot. And in the 40th position was Riley Herbst in that 2311 machine. We'll put the finishing order now on the bottom for all of y'all to see if you didn't see where your guy was. The stat sheet is going to say Ryan Blaney started on the pole and won. That's what the stat sheet's going to say. It's going to probably be pretty simple. It's probably going to be, people, oh, that's kind of boring, but that's why we watch the races. Yeah, he led 27 laps. He led the most laps, tied with his teammate, Joey Logano. This, I got to say again, this was a Team Penske night. And going into this, we talked about it in the pre-race show. I talked about it in videos this week. I brought it up on the podcast on Wednesday night, which, by the way, is on our channel this week with a special guest. Not announcing it yet. But I brought it up that Team Penske, that alliance, everyone locked in, they were the ones who could just go for broke. They were the ones who are the real wild cards in it of those who have won. Now, granted, it was a last-second comeback, 3-4 wide running like that, and it just was who got the best run at the end. But you have to put yourself in position. Ryan Blaney coming up through the field, and let's be honest, we probably wouldn't see that at pretty much any other Daytona Talladega race the last couple of years. Guys able to make moves, able to get in different lines, the draft and the handling mattering in that. That's what, again, that's why I say I'm banging the drum that it's a big improvement. I want to see more improvements when we get to Talladega, because I really didn't think the Talladega race this past spring was up to the standard that Talladega should be, just like I didn't think the Daytona 500 was. This tonight, in my opinion, was getting back up there. Still some work to go. Still not perfect. Still too much fuel saving, a little too much gridlock at times, but it wasn't impossible. And right now, that's all I want. That's all I want for the rest of the way. And again, I'm looking at the poll, which is on the community tab, and y'all are pretty damn positive about it. Might be the most positive poll of the year, actually, which is kind of crazy to say. Kind of talking about some others here. I know it's woulda, coulda, shouldas, but Eric Jones, Legacy Motor Club, the 43 and the 42 tonight, I think both put on a very, very valiant effort. The 42 up front for a little bit. Eric Jones able to control the lines at different points, but due to the heavy pushes from Kyle Larson, gets shuffled out. That kind of ruined the Hendrick guys' nights, in all honesty, shuffling him out. They probably should have just drafted up with him and tried to make a move. Instead, they kind of just, he was loose already, but you could definitely tell that Larson wanted him out of the way. But valiant effort there. Preece, again, after all that he struggled with at the Superspeedways, Daytona, the flipping, all of that, it should be pointed out that he did run very well tonight. His best season on the record is not going to amount to running for a championship, which sucks because I really think that 60 team came on pretty well for a good part of the summer, but is what it is on that side of it. Some others, looking through there, we talked about Logano up front with a lot of this stuff. Cody Ware ran up towards front. He was the big meme this week. Everyone was memeing like Cody Ware's going to win. We're all going to, meme the hell out of it. We're going to rip on the format. We're going to do all this stuff. But to his credit, when he got the track position and was up front, that car and Cody Ware, the driver, were able to compete, which is a lot better than the 51 has done when he gets up front in these races before. It's usually he gets shuffled back right away. 23 laps led for Cody Ware. I don't want to push that under the rug either. But let's talk about some of the big moments of this race. We can talk about others as we go. So the big moment, I think, was set up by the first few laps. It was Blaney and Bowman on the front row, and the 48 dropped like a freaking rock. Just absolutely fell off the face of the earth. Alex Bowman did. Of course, we had, a early caution and all of that. But after the 34 and the 45 wreck, I'm thinking, oh my God, man, like the 45 is going to keep the curse going of the regular season champion. We're going to be talking about how like he completely collapsed. He had, I think like 100 something points gap on the cut line before some of the new winners and before some of the issues. And I put he's Mick effing had it at this point because he probably had in that McDonald's machine. Looked like the 34 kind of went down a little bit and loose, but the 45 also went up, getting tight. Again, I love that handling is starting to become an issue again at Daytona. It's going to spread the pack out and cause, in my opinion, better racing over time. But at that point, I'm thinking, oh man, we're in it, man. We're in for it. But only about 10 laps later, we get the big one. And that is with the 23 and the 5. They kind of make a little contact. Larson's front bumper was the cause of a lot of I don't think controversy is the right word, but talk. But with that, the 23 already kind of squeezing down on the 22. He gets squeezed in. And I believe you had like another one that was crashed there, causes a big wreck, collects Alex Bowman in this, collects some others too, collects Kyle Busch, Austin Cindric, Ricky Stenhouse, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, all guys that I think could have competed for this race. But when Alex Bowman wrecked at that point, that was the greatest thing that Reddick probably had seen all season. It bailed his ass out from what could have been the ultimate failure had Suarez, Haley, or Custer had enough of a run at the end. God, man, I don't know why I'm getting like, you can hear it in my throat. We get a red flag from this, but with Bowman out at that point, he is at the mercy of the field. He is absolutely at the mercy of the field up towards the front, the middle, all of it. He is hoping to God that there's not a new winner. He's hoping to God that that Blaney passes Tech. He's not out of the woods just yet. We don't know. The 12 could not pass Tech, and then we're having a whole different conversation. I doubt that though. He basically says, "Yeah, I'm going to go back and watch the race and hope." Right. And of course, once we get back going, we have a quick run to the finish of the stage. Larson wins it. That's what gets him, and we'll put the standings back down on the bottom here. That's what gets him technically the points lead heading into Darlington. But I got to say, when you're looking at the field too, those points do make a difference. And I think it's the SVG effect, because I think a lot of the drivers that would have won those races a lot of times, now granted, you can look in who finished second and all, but I think strategies would have been different if different people think that they can win. It probably would have been a little stretched out further, but I mean, you're looking at this cut line, it's freaking close, man. We'll talk about more of that in a moment. We get back to stage 2. The first stage was the wild one. That was the one where it's like the bomb went off. We're going buck wild with this thing. It's going to go absolutely nuts from the get-go. I thought we were going to have a calm first stage, because it's like, okay, let's ride around. We don't have to save fuel. We'll just race semi, intense, and then we'll go from there. But in my opinion, way too much aggression, way too early. And I kind of agree with Austin Cindric on that part of it. Way too much aggression costs a lot of guys a good night, and they sort of calm it down. We have some fuel saving, unfortunately, in this that hasn't went away just yet, but it's not as bad. We have other stops. Hocevar blows an engine. He's out of the running for this. That brings out a caution, which races them all back to the next stage, with Ross Chastain winning that. And I got to say, I'm not complaining that the last 2 stages weren't crazy, right? I'm not complaining about that, because I do think the finish of this race and the last couple runs were intense and were really good racing. That's not at all what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is I want to say I appreciate the fact that, especially the final stage, it was for the most part just straight up. It was straight up racing. You had others up front, and you had a few cautions here or there, but you didn't wad up the entire field. You didn't have a big flip. I don't think we had a flip this weekend, unless I'm just completely misremembering everything. You had basically the best car out there with the 22. You had everybody else figuring out ways to race against him, and you had people setting themselves up for the run to the finish, which to me, again, is much closer to the super speedway racing I want than what we've had. We have not had it where guys set themselves up, where they start working with each other, like Blaney talked about working with was it Custer? I think it was. You had to remind me, because that was the last detail I'm probably remembering. And you didn't really have that kind of talk before, because you couldn't have that. It was really just whoever's in the first 4 would run for the win. So you would see different things in this stage, in this final run to the finish, that actually set up the finish. And I wrote it with 45 to go. I'm like, Joey Logano's the one to beat. He was. Say what you want about Joey and his season. like tonight and the way that we've seen a little bit of evolution with this thing, we're starting to see more of the ability of the better plate racers or super speedway racers. My apologies, super speedway racers. We're starting to see the full effect of that, of more of a gap between them, which ironically enough, they keep trying to make parity a thing. Having a gap makes a difference. People can charge up. People can make moves. Some need to pull strategies. And I think that's what we really gained from this race tonight. There were some issues too. BJ McLeod got in the wall. There was no yellow. He was a very good sport getting off the track to not bring out a yellow. BJ McLeod is one of the classiest racers out there. AJ Allmendinger had some kind of engine issue where it just stopped working. He was out of it. I'm not shocked. Call League has had such a mediocre at best year. People thought it was crazy for saying Call League wouldn't win a race in any racing series this year. And now we have 10 weeks to go in the year. And that's looking more likely than not. The Roval is really the only hope if AJ, can pull that one off. But with 13 to go, Joey Logano gets loose off of turn 4, goes off the 17, spins down the track into the grass, gets stuck. Caution comes out. Joey goes a lap down. We don't get another caution flag the rest of the night. So Joey Logano was out of it. He was out of contention. He finishes 27th. And that's another thing I'm talking about, the handling part that I talk about with this. The handling part is important. This reminds me of the 2016 season where like Dale Jr. and Chase Elliott are spinning in a very similar way. And that is, again, what I kind of want to see. It looked like the track was more bumpy. It's been, I believe, 15 years since this track was repaved. It should start showing that age at this point. And we're starting to see a little bit with that. And I think we're going to only see more of it going into 26 and beyond. But with Joey going around, in my opinion, at that point, it was on. It wasn't going to be like one-on-one, like Joey versus another person like Jones or Larson or whoever else was up there. At that point, the race is on. The favorite is out, and it is just a mad dash run. 8 to go. They get it back going. Justin Haley was up there. I don't think he's watching because I think he's at the track, but if Braden Movick's watching, he was banging the drum for Justin Haley tonight. And Haley delivered, running up towards the front, running for the win of this race. He was up front with Eric Jones. Jones gets the edge, but it's 2x2. And this is how each restart really started, right? It was one guy to get a lead. The next line, it's usually on the bottom. The top line would get the run, and we go side by side for a little bit. And then you'd start seeing the divvying out of the different lines. The third line would get working. Sometimes went 4 wide, which I was appreciative of. With 6 to go, Haley clears with Priest, the 43. That's when he gets shuffled by Larson. It's the 60 up with the 7 because Priest made a very smart move and immediately elected, instead of following behind the 7, to take control of a lane. That's probably going to be the meta for a little bit if we see more of this type of racing continued. But with 3 to go, he gets shuffled. The 5 leads the top line. Now it's 3x3 because of the backup with it all. And we're looking at really just wild finish at that point. With the last 2 laps or so, it's 3x3 through the pack, and it's on. And that's why I wrote Custer at the lead. The 7 did, the 12 did. There were pushes back and forth with that. And right at the end, Blaney gets his nose ahead, gets the victory right ahead of Suarez, who had a nice charge up there as well. But at the end of the day, the Blue Oval ended up beating out the 2 Chevys, and they just go, it was the most it was the best way it could finish without having some kind of fun upset winner. It was that's really kind of the way I think of it. By the way, chat, for all of y'all that watch NWP, which will be this Wednesday on this channel with a special guest that we'll talk about later, more than likely, y'all picked Ryan Blaney. So for anyone who might be upset, but watches each week, y'all doing good. You still got a good finish with that. And there wasn't an overtime. It didn't get stupid. And to me, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yep. Victory screech. You won. You cooked. You did all of it. You did great. Good job, chat. Well done. Um, no, and so now let's look at the points side of it, man. Let's see the points side of it. I'll pull it up on my phone. You see it on the bottom, and we can break that part of it down because this is going to be the big talking point the rest of the year. Um, and again, like I said before, I kind of noticed it as it was going on the bottom line. It is incredibly close. It is insanely close for the standards we've seen in the past. This is not a year we're going to see somebody plus 53, plus 47, any of those things, any of those numbers, plus 26. And as we saw tonight, that could very easily be lost in the first couple laps if you wreck early at Darlington. And for those who might be like, nah, okay, whatever, but it's over like Josh Berry or Tyler Reddick or whoever. You got to remember that like this format or not, any of those guys could win in there. Austin Dillon actually has a pretty decent history at Darlington. People don't want to admit it, but if he wins, he could definitely make it through. Alex Bowman has had speed at some of these tracks before. Reddick has. All it takes is Kyle Larson overdriving it, Denny Hamlin getting wrecked, Christopher Bell maybe having like a pit issue, Ryan Blaney having a blown engine, all things that have happened this year. For one of them to be behind the 8 ball right off the bat. This isn't like years past where the 2 or 3 best guys out there are the ones who are far and away going to just make it really far. Shane Van Gisbergen plus 16. I know Jeff Burton was talking all about how, I think he can make it all the way if, okay, like that's a great talking point, but I doubt it. I mean, granted, he showed some promise at Daytona tonight, so maybe Talladega if he made it that far. But plus 16, I mean, I think it's a long shot of him making it out of the final round with that kind of gap. I thought the gap was going to be longer and larger. That'll get quoted out of context. But it's not. Plus 16. I mean, he could lose that with that, regardless of where he's running. He could lose that in 2 stages, easily. And I doubt he's going to be a front runner in the Southern 500. But 7th through 16th is separated by 12 points. That's Chase Elliott, Briscoe, Bubba, Cindric, Chastain, Logano, Berry, Reddick, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman. Some heavy hitters in this. I would say the first 5 are probably the 5 I would most choose to probably make it all the way. I'd probably add Briscoe to that at this point. Larson, Byron, Hamlin, Blaney, Bell, and I'll add Briscoe as like my 6. Elliott probably 7th. Like if I had to do a power rankings, that's where I'd probably put it at this point. But I'm with Alessandro here. I don't see how Shane Van Gisbergen gets super far. Because I don't think this is going to be like years past where you just got to 20th your way through it. I don't think that's the case this time around. It's so close. I think every position is going to matter that much more. So if he goes out and runs 31st at Darlington right off the bat, he's probably 20 some or more points out. And that's regardless of who the winner could be of that race. Then you got Gateway, I believe it is. Then you got Bristol, which he struggled mightily at. And I don't think he's going to improve enough to run top 15 or so. And I see Napa Race Fan, if he runs 15th, he'll make it. But that's saying I don't think he runs 15th. I don't, I think he probably runs in the mid 20s, and that just ain't going to cut it. I don't think that many people are going to have that many issues at this point. As for some of the others, some that I think are fringe guys, maybe can make it round of 8. Ross Chastain, Ross is wild, man. He's wild. Bubba Wallace, that 23 team has had a lot of speed. I would not doubt how well he could do. Tyler Reddick, I know they've been off, but again, if they can just get their shit together. And even Alex Bowman, I know he kind of limped his way in. No, not kind of. He limped his way in to the final round or to the playoffs, I should say. But, that team definitely gets better as it gets later in. I still think a round 8 entry is not out of the question for that 48 team. I think it's a long shot more now than I did probably at the start of the year, but I still think it's more of a possibility. So with that, because we're going to have a video probably tomorrow or Monday covering all of this in more detail, but I want to know in the chat, I got your rating out of 10. I want to see though, I want to see who you think's going to win. Put the number of the driver you think's going to win the championship in there. I would ask for Final Four, but that's just too damn difficult. I want to see what you guys got, who you guys are kind of rolling with, balling with, and we'll see it from there. I'm seeing some, wow, starting out, we're seeing 12s, 22, 5, 24, 5, 9, 48, 24, 22, 12, 12, 1, 11. Trying to keep up with you guys, and it's not working. It's really not working. 12. I'm just clicking, and it just keeps hitting 12. God damn it! Show the ones. StreamYard is not processing. 24 years since 24 won the championship. Streaks are meant to be broken, right? I'm seeing there's someone who's living on the edge more with a 19. Let's see. Come on. Man, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers you guys are putting down. It's looking like you guys are thinking Ryan Blaney's the favorite. And I know that there's the Phoenix factor, but he's got to get there first, you know? Seeing Watermelon. So I'm taking that to Ross. Let's see. 21. Barry. Very long shot. I give you credit for going outside. 22. 88. I see some that are sticking with Shane. You know, it's difficult just because of the way that it's set up. I mean, in all honesty, with it being this close this year, this is probably the biggest crapshoot since they added the stage point side of it, in my opinion. I really think that. I think this is going to be the most this year because I consider 2014 to 16 different than 17 to now. This year, since the change in 17, will be the most like 2014 to 16, in my opinion. I could totally see somebody that is just completely irrelevant for this round and for the regular season and all that, just showing up right at the end and running for a la Ryan Newman 2014, kind of like Jimmy Johnson, who did not have all that great of a season in his side in 2016. You know, I could see something like that happening this year. I also could see the favorites going in and forward like that. But what I've learned is that bet on a lot of the favorites, but also know one or two are going to slip through the cracks at different times. I could totally see somebody like Tyler Reddick. I'm seeing you in the chat, Tank Slapper. Could totally see someone like Tyler Reddick who just skated through and pulls a complete 2011 Tony Stewart, except doesn't have to be as good as Tony Stewart was back then. We didn't, get our crazy underdog finish that took out a bunch of really good contenders or anything in this race. So I would say of those that are in it right now, as much as, again, I think Austin Dillon should get a little more respect than he probably is getting, it's probably him and the 88 that I'm looking at as the two that are like, I would be comfortable putting money down that those two don't make it far. I would be very comfortable with that. Joey Logano, he could be somebody that is just like, runs like Joey Logano does and then runs like Joey Logano does. And if that happens and he ties Jeff Gordon this year, whoo boy, you thought the explosion last year was bad. Holy hell. If Joey Logano wins it this year, it's going to explode like 100 nuclear bombs at that point. It will be the apocalypse for the social media side. And at that point, we'll have all those conversations. I guarantee the next 10 weeks or so, or 11 or whatever, how many weeks are left for the podcast that we got and all of that. We're going to have these conversations about who gets this and who's this and does someone deserve this or whatnot. I'm just saying, prepare yourself. I know it's an odd year, not an even year, but just saying, man. I swear, if this ends up in an Ellie Productions video like Danny did last year, I'm gonna laugh my ass off at that point. Like that would be the comedy timeline. But no, I mean, there's going to be plenty to talk about with that moving forward. We'll get to even more of that probably again tomorrow or Monday of this week. We'll talk all about that. There's tons of news going on too, which is always fun to add with that. You know, how about that? Blaney, one of the cover drivers for NASCAR 25, unveiled at Daytona today, and he goes on to win. Just saying, like there's some pretty good juju heading on in. You know, they got the colleague news too of them having Ram next year. It's going to be interesting to see the way that affects the next couple years. I'm going to say this, or I'm going to ask this, I should say. Put a number in the chat. Which driver outside do you think is going to play spoiler? Kind of like Ross Chastain did at Kansas. I want to know, which one do you think is going to play spoiler the most? I think it's going to be Buescher, personally. I know people will say AJ. I'm seeing 17 already. I said outside, guys. You're putting in playoff drivers. I'm seeing a few 60s. Bad Brad. He could do well at Talladega. You know, just saying. A lot of y'all saying Kyle Busch as well. After today, you got to probably look at the 43 at Talladega. The 47 has had points. The 54, Ty Gibbs. Thing is, I don't think that they're probably going to be. Ty Gibbs will probably be the testing dummy this rest of the year. Hocevar, I'd love to see Hocevar, just as, you know, from someone that both knows the guy and also somebody that absolutely enjoys the hell out of what he does on the racetrack. I would love that. Suarez, maybe. I mean, he's shown some pretty good speed at points. Michael McDowell. So there's definitely a lot of really talented drivers that are outside of it still that shouldn't be discounted, I'll say, going forward. And then of course you can't count out Cody Ware. Cody Ware, he will surprise the world. Oh man. Yeah, but I think I'll cover it. Let's look at the super chat cooldown lap. Not stage break this time, cooldown lap. Few from before. Roman numeral 3 says, let's be fair, for the first time, Custer made it fun. Yeah. I mean, I honestly thought heading out of 4, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to win, isn't he? Thank you, Mike Kelly Gilliam, for the 10 gifted memberships. I appreciate that a ton. Eyebolt for the 5 saying Cody Ware led more laps tonight than he's led for his entire NASCAR career. Great effort. I put a couple of dollars on him. I don't blame you. A lot of people could have made a lot of money tonight on Cody Ware. You know, really cool thing before we go too much further. Unless something changes, I think this will be the last live stream, unless something comes up in the next few days before my new computer gets in. This will be the last live stream on this computer, which I've had for like 5 years. It's going to be cool. If I'm able to stream on the other one on Wednesday night, I'm going to show you. It's been so, I've used this thing so much for the last, 5 years, give or take. I've used this thing so much. One, the battery is warped and the heat of it actually split it open on the bottom. But also with the charger, it literally cannot work without the charger. It's been so screwed and fried. And I had people look at it and they're like, yeah, this thing is done. Get a new one. Like, it's not going to get fixed. So this computer that we're on right now, this laptop, is like, I think this thing has made it through hundreds of live streams, me gaming a bunch, stuff for work on every video, research for every podcast, all of that. Like, this thing, I might have this thing framed or something, like put on my wall somewhere. You know, the podcast that the computer that ended up making it that far. Granted, it was a gaming laptop, so there is that. Sounds like a fire hazard, very much so. I don't fly with this thing anymore. It's a flight risk. I'd probably get put on a list if I tried to take this computer with me. Let's be honest. So yeah, it sounds like a bomb. Yeah, this thing is like, once I get the new one set up, once I get all the settings on it, this thing's getting unplugged, and it'll be like the emergency break glass in case of emergency laptop computer that I'll be using. We upgraded. We'll upgrade. But I figured I'd say that, give the old gal like a moment of shining. Yeah. Jarrett the Iceberg, whose podcast career started on a computer, on this computer. Yeah, trust me. At one point, like, I'm pretty sure I could see some of the plastic starting to warp and melt when I was live, like on one of these ones. I think it was like the Richmond stream. It was nuts. Like, it was nuts. The Richmond stream last year. Jeffrey saying 10 out of 10. This race, Atlanta 2 and Richmond are the best. Yeah, add in Coke 600. That one, that we shouldn't forget that one. Dominion, who says, how did they not have a big wreck coming to the line? What a finish. Other than the bit of fuel saving, near perfect race. What an improvement. Huge improvement. I hope this can be replicated. That's the only thing I'm kind of worried about, is like, can we replicate this? Can we bring this to Talladega in the fall? Because Talladega with this car has raced differently at times than Daytona, and not in a good way. This felt again like a 2013 to 2018 Daytona Talladega race. This to me was getting closer to what we had at Atlanta earlier this year, which has been the best super speedway since this car came in. So I hope it can be replicated, but yeah, great move in the right direction. Hunter Nixon Fishing, good to see you, man. Which Larson would have won, but my second favorite driver won. Thought it was a good race. Hey, man, that was kind of me when, like, I was a Dale Jr. fan, but he sucked for a couple of years. So when Mark Martin was winning all those races in 09, I'm like, hey, my second favorite driver is winning. I love that. You know, it was a positive thing I could throw in with that. So I know how you feel. I agree. I thought it was a really solid, good race. J-Man saying 13 to first in 2 laps. Blaney was gooning. You're like that Instagram account. That you might be that Instagram account. I don't know. Reverend Rashim Hall Stewart saying Blaney is a real contender for the Final Four. Yeah, if that car can stay together and he doesn't get caught up in somebody else's BS, totally should be. Let's see. Real SW says Bubba can't do nothing about it, but that's modern day super speedway racing with the Gen 7. How about that 4-wide photo finish? Absolute cinema, 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, he like somewhat took blame, but it's like, I really don't think there was much blame to be took. Like, I thought for the most part, the wrecks tonight were more or less just racing deals. I know that's, you know, tacky to say at this point, but I honestly thought that's what it was. I thought most of them were racing deals, maybe somebody going to the wrong spot. I don't think there was anything majorly egregious. A lot of it too was handling too, which chasing the cars, I'm all for. So, you know, I can't really put too much like actual hardcore blame on anyone. There wasn't somebody just being a major idiot out there tonight. Snappy says shorter stages really cut back the fuel savings and made the boys racy. So I guess we need 4 stages in the 500 instead of fixing the car. I guess I like the sarcasm. Don't give them ideas. Yeah, I'm going to give you the same line y'all give me. Don't give them ideas. But I do think a shorter first stage probably helped. It probably was what added to the intensity to start this race off. If we had a longer stage to start it off and then a shorter stage to finish it, I think we'd have even more intensity at the end of this race or in the middle of this race or whenever they would put that. So important to note. GD Shark saying Coke 0400 over the Daytona 500. 400 puts on better races. Yeah, it does. Especially in the next gen era. Totally does. You know what the Daytona 500 needs? Testing, practice, cars on track more, fine tuning. That way, maybe NASCAR can make a few rule changes if needed. Just saying. We could totally get some Daytona preseason thunder. I'd drive down with the buddies from Tennessee if they had like a Saturday morning Daytona preseason, Saturday, Sunday Daytona preseason thunder. I'd go down with the boys and we'd all go to Daytona and watch it. Like, I like football. I love NASCAR. I'd totally go to preseason testing over watching NFL any day. Doesn't matter the team. Gooby's Fun Zone says, so what was the difference that made this race great while Dega sucked? Has to be they didn't save fuel. Well, I think that was part of it, but I think it was also that Daytona has worn more than Talladega's surface has. Talladega is starting to wear more, but that surface, even being repaved 4 or 5 years before, because remember, Daytona's was paved in the summer of 2010, getting ready for 2011. Talladega's was paved in the summer of 06 because the spring race that was rained out the next day that year was the last race on the old surface then. So the 4-year difference roughly. Even though it's a 4-year difference, for some reason, I don't know if it's the compound they used. I don't know if it's just more intense weather in Florida over time. The surface at Daytona has worn more. I think that's probably what caused it. Handling is a much bigger issue tonight than it was at Talladega. And I would say probably Atlanta has had handling be an issue before too. And plus you have the added element of a smaller track with that probably adds to it. Hunter Nixon Fishing said this was the second best Daytona race of the Gen 7 era behind the 2024 Daytona 500. I personally liked this one more than pretty much any other. So Marky Mark saying press F to pay respect to Kyle Busch. Press F, everybody. Kyle Busch, it was a rough end to his hopes for sure. Maybe they can go for broke. I mean, Kansas, if they're able to do whatever they did at Kansas without spinning out this year, that could help. Justin Drake says average Joey Logano Daytona race. The Mickiest mouse stuck it into a non-existent hole again and took out the field per usual, then spazzed out while leading and almost took out more cars. I don't really put that on Joey. I think it was just a bunch of cars coming together. They were 3-4 wide at that point, and it was a tight squeeze. Losing it off the corner, the best of the best have done that at this track. I don't put it on Joey personally. I respect your opinion. I don't think it was on Joey Logano though. And trust me, I'll call out Joey Logano if I think it was. I just don't think it really was. Mofo Prada says this may be foreshadowing, but handling mattered today. We could be seeing Atlanta 2.0 starting next year. Handling at Daytona could save the next gen. Handling in general. In my opinion, the next gen has, in a lot of ways, set the racing at Daytona and Talladega back like a decade, or more even. I think this is much closer to that 13 to 16, 13 to 18 style of racing where you could make moves, but it wasn't as crazy as like the giant ass spoiler days, which was my personal favorite, even over the 2000s. Yeah. Someone marked that down. The fact that I thought something in the Gen 6 era was better than the Gen 4, which is my all-time favorite era of racing overall. Personally loved that, but I think that now we're starting to see it finally start to catch up at some of these tracks. It's not perfect, but Richmond was a lot better, and this was a lot better. I agree. 19 through 21 to me was peak. I absolutely love that race. And don't get me wrong, you can look at any race in any time with the super speedways and you'll find duds. You will. You'll find duds. You'll find a 2021 Daytona 500. You'll find a 2018 Talladega fall race. You'll find a 2013 Daytona 500, a 2000 Daytona 500. You'll find them in any era, but this one's had more stinkers and snoozers than legitimately good races. And so to see this step in the right direction, I'll take it, man. Alex saying Alex Johanning saying Alex Bowman is one lucky man. That is indeed what he is. He's a very lucky man, and I'm sure Danny B was cheering very loudly, more loudly than he probably ever has at Daytona for a Ryan Blaney victory. That's for sure. Young Money says Ryan Blaney did literally nothing all race just to luck into a race win. I don't think it's as much luck this time, though. If it was gridlock and he was the first 4 and then people crashed, or if it was like the Daytona 500 where everyone crashed in front of Byron and he ended up winning, then I would say, yeah, okay. Then, we lucked into it. I don't think this was as much luck. I think this was more, he set it up and maybe luck played a part in it, but I don't think it was as much luck as he worked his way in. There was luck, but you have to have luck in any super speedway race. We can start picking those apart. Bake the Snake says life at the present moment as an RFK fan is straight pain. I tell you. Yeah, I mean, between the 17 and the 60 being in or being on that line the entire summer, being on the cusp of making it, to right at the end being sniped by Austin Dillon, and then not having the right moves at the end. Brad Keselowski sacrificing the 6 team in a lot of ways early in the year to help the other 2 teams, and then performing well enough to make it for the last 10 or so races, roughly. I'd have to look exactly at his stats to know, to not make it because of the hole that was dug early in the year. Yeah, it's got to be painful. I don't blame you. It's got to be painful. The fact that at one point it was realistic that all 3 of their cars could have made it in, to now none of them making it in the span of probably 3 weeks. Yeah, that's pain. Young Money says Hamlin's washed. I wouldn't say so. Maybe at the super speedways, he's definitely not the Hamlin he used to be, but I don't think he's washed. Mofo Prada says Bowman should show up at Darlington wearing a Blaney t-shirt. Bowman's good summer run was not undone tonight. Don't sleep on either driver. No, Blaney should be a favorite going in, as long as he can stay out of trouble. As for Bowman, totally. And that sounds like his sense of humor, honestly. I'd be totally cool with that. Never Was Cool says for 4,200 days since Larson won a Cup Super Speedway. Everyone's like, he's gonna win it this time. He's finally got it. No, he's not. Bryce saying, I've never been more happy for a Blaney win in my life. That was actually a good race. 2 good weeks in a row. And you know what? The Southern 500's been way better than the spring race. And last year's Southern 500 was good. Knock on wood, if we get 3 in a row, we're looking at a real streak here. Hopefully. KTN USA says Bowman better hope that Blaney makes it through the room of doom if he hopes to advance. Yeah, because at that point, it's Suarez making it in, and all 3 of the Trackhouse cars would be in. Sebaz saying, sometimes I'll listen to a certain song for a race, and this time I listened to the final boss song of Xenoblade Chronicles, Godslaying Sword. I don't know that one, but I'll ask my wife. Matthew says 34th in points, almost made the playoffs by a nose. Yeah, and that would have knocked out Alex Bowman, would have knocked out a Hendrick driver. That could have been a spite. I mean, let me see if they've updated it. But if they haven't updated the NASCAR points, I could probably go back and actually see what they were heading into tonight. Okay, they've already updated it. Damn, they're quick compared to the way they used to be. Yeah, I mean, of those finishers, let me look through. Suarez is 27th in points. Haley is 30th. Custer is 33rd. Jones is 24th. Busher, just outside of it, but he would have been around a top 10. Of course, Larson, Gibbs, others. I mean, yeah, we were that close to having another like major social media explosion. And not in like it's booming like Xfinity. No, like it's booming like a bomb. Let's see. Clayton says RIP to cold custard. RIP. It was a valiant effort though. Young Money says if Logano didn't spin out on purpose, causing the caution after getting turned, Ryan Blaney wouldn't have won the race. Again, I'm not going to point. I want to actually see more of that. In the moment, I will say I did raise an eyebrow of like, that kind of seems odd that like he stopped in there, but I don't think he would risk his race completely, especially if there's a wreck or something, to get stuck in the grass, because it rained, and everyone knows when it rains at Daytona and you stop in the grass, you're stuck. I don't think he would. I don't think he would be that bad of a sport, I guess. I think that he spun out, tried to save it, tried to keep it going, and I don't think that it was intentional. That's the best way to put it. Keith says, I need a Dente after this race weekend. Great race. I think both races were great. I think it was a really fun race weekend at Daytona. That Alcorn guy says, just want to say thanks for the post-race streams. On to the playoffs. Go 12, or whoever the hell survives the chase for the championship. Can we please call it the chase? The chase is such a better name. So much better. But yeah, I appreciate it. I love putting these on, talking with y'all. J. Michael says, does this break the advanced auto parts curse? Hashtag YLF NASCAR. I mean, if there's a curse, it ain't there now. We won in it. Antar Das for the 2 says, I want the most chaos SVG champion. That would be chaotic. That would be very chaotic. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be very chaotic. Justin Drake, wish a non-locked in driver won. Granted, Haley and Custer would have been minus 53 by race 2, but if Jones had won or any of the 2 RFK cars, Priest or Busher, would honestly be a sneaky contender, at least to make it to the next round. That's for sure. I don't know. I don't think they make it like super far, but it'd be a contender to make it through a round or 2. Honest opinion, Dylan round of 16 exit, 14th or 15th in points, minus 23 out. Yeah, he probably is. You know, like I said, I'd be confident putting money on the 3 and the 88 being out after the first. Andrew says Denny has been fast and consistent. Hashtag 11 finally wins it. That would be fun. With how much Denny Hamlin especially has called out this system this year and called out NASCAR, that would be very spicy for the NASCAR side of it, for the fan side of it, all of it. That would be the fun timeline personally. I know people hate Denny, but the reaction would be great. Blake says, got married today. Well, congratulations. Congratulations. Cool to see my second favorite and the wife's favorite driver win tonight. Yeah, I got to see 2020. I went to Talladega with my wife and she, had become a Hamlin fan, and seeing Hamlin win in person, very, very controversial. We got a lot of dirty looks cheering. I was cheering because I was happy for her. But seeing your significant other celebrate their driver winning, awesome moment. My wife and I actually were talking about that earlier today. So awesome. Jeffrey says, Elliott +7. I am nervous. I hope he wins soon. I think he does have a good chance at a couple of these tracks, but I think the 9 team, as long as they don't run terrible in 2 of the races, should be fine. I think they have enough speed. They'll be fine personally. But I get it. It's the way it's set up. It's set up to make fans nervous. Greg says, glad we don't have to do a wellness check for Danny B. No, we don't. I was in the chat with him. And he was worrying. That's for sure. I felt bad for him. I've been at races where I've been at a race where my driver's won. I've been at races where my driver has run up front a ton and led a ton of laps. I've also been at races though where my guy wrecks out, and it costs a lot, and it never gets easier. Thank you, Dre Flav, for being a new member. I appreciate it. A lot of new members tonight. Philip says, my first super chat. Blaney, let's go. Thank you. I appreciate you using your first super chat on me. And yeah, I mean, I can tell you're a Blaney fan. I actually really like that paint scheme. I know a lot of people have criticized it before on social media, but honestly, I think it's a pretty good one. But yeah, man, that 12 team, they're dangerous. So they can just keep their stuff together, like equipment wise, or just not be collected in other people's mistakes. They're going to be a serious threat. It lines up very well for Blaney and co. Let's see. Iceberg says, I think it's how you say it. I like the profile pic. It says, Bowman's in. Let's freaking go. I love Blaney. Yeah, I have a feeling Bowman fans will forever be partial to Ryan Blaney now. Let's see. 312 Workshop says, seeing the King's colors on track was great through act. I think you probably had a spell check there, but I get what you're saying. It was cool seeing the King's colors be super competitive too. Fred Dog says, but seriously though, when is the NBC pre-race? It just 30 minutes for the race. Jeffrey King +16 for SVG is not enough in my opinion through tough 3 races. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think it's enough. And if he makes it through, I will be incredibly surprised. The Ace Steeler saying, should make Daytona a wild card playoff race. I think that probably takes away the weight of it. And I think a lot of people, and granted, I would love it back in the 4th of July, as a traditionalist side of it. But I think a lot of people have come to really accept it and let it grow as this event at the end of the regular season. Seeing how NASCAR is just all in all in every single way for playoffs. I say keep it as is personally. It's a great way to end the summer. Next year, I think it'll be like, was it 29th or so? It's just the way that Labor Day and the schedule all shoots out next year. It'll be, the 29th. So it'll be like right at the end of the month of August. It's kind of weird. I was thinking about this. I was talking with John when we were getting ready for the NWP 400 last Sunday. And, it brought up, like, as a kid, when the Bristol night race came around, I knew, like, school's coming back, right? Like, it always kind of clicked in my head, like, school's coming back. We're ramping down the summer. When the Bristol night race comes, the summer is officially done. And to me now, I'm thinking, like, for the last 5-6 years, I would say that Daytona has been that for kids, where they're probably like kids that are NASCAR fans probably look at Daytona and they're like, all right, Daytona's here, then the summer's done. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but that's kind of where I'm at. Hunter Nixon Fishing says it's crazy to think just 6 years ago we were talking about Kyle Busch being the best driver in NASCAR. Now he isn't even close to making the playoffs. What a catastrophic fall from grace. It was to me, with Kyle Busch's fall, it's the perfect kind of confluence of events. You had a fall off in general after 2019. The 550 package coming in didn't help at all, I think, long term with him. But then you had the practices cut with the COVID that did not help. You had the sponsorship issues with JGR and the fact that a big sponsor fell through at the end because they were supposed to get a sponsor for him to sponsor the full season and keep him in the 18. That fell through. Last option out there was Richard Childress Racing. That team just keeps falling and falling. Everything came together to collapse for this part of his career. And don't get me wrong, I think some of it's age too. That also adds to it. There were a lot of events that came together at the right time to kind of knock him off of his pedestal. Keith says Busch was looking for Parker Retzlaff. Justin here saying wouldn't put it past Logano to park it. Mark once said he'd never race again or something. He said he would slit his own throat rather than wreck Bobby Allison, who gave him a chance in Cup at Roush. But when Mark did the same for Joey, he dumped him at Pocono, not Phoenix, Pocono. Again, I would want to see first, like, before really pinning that on him, just because I questioned it a little bit at first, but I was like, I want to see more before I fully go all in on that. I do think that's something that should be looked at. And if people put like the onboard on, I'd be very interested in that. But I'm going to err on the side of caution for now, pun intended. Your mom for president says, been to 17 straight Daytona races. One of the best finishes yet. Although I needed that Justin Haley redemption. Thank you for all the content. Well, I appreciate it. And that's awesome. 17 straight. So that'd be what? 8 years back from now is 27. So you'd been there since like what? 2016 summer race? Pretty good streak. I've been to a couple of those. Young Money says 2024 Coke 400 over 2025 Coke 400. I disagree. I thought this year's was better. Especially when you look at the finish and you look at people being able to make moves in different lanes. The fact that there's being more moves made at a super speedway is, I think, always a positive. I think it's always, and I would like to see more moves made. I'd like to see bigger runs. I want to see 2019 to 2021 come back. That was my favorite era of super speedway racing. Or at least favorite package, probably favorite era, still Gen 4, but favorite package. It was just such a short amount of time. I went to so many of those races at Daytona and Talladega in that time. I went to 2 of the Daytona 500s. I went to 2 of the summer races. I went to, I think, 3 Talladega races in that time. That was a fun time to watch super speedway racing. Terry says, can we just let Larson sit at home during the super speedway races? He's so awful at pushing. He ruined Eric's chances at a Cinderella story and the 3 and 43 back-to-back wins. Nah, I mean, because the thing is, I think he wanted Eric Jones out of the way. I think it was partially intentional that the 43 was getting loose off his bumper, and I think he tried to push him out of the way in order to get the Hendrick cars a chance. Unfortunately, it just completely, for his sake, it completely backfired. He's been a lot better at these races as of late. So, all right, I think that covers it. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you for spending a ton of your Saturday night and for some of you into Sunday morning with me. And we'll be putting videos out a lot this week. A lot of stuff to talk about, whether it be news, whether it be playoff stuff. Keep an eye out. Probably get one out tomorrow. Definitely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll have stuff. Podcast is Thursday or Wednesday as well on this channel. Like 90% sure we'll have a special guest on. So definitely check it on out. Eric and Danny be on. Should be fun hearing Danny's Daytona shenanigans. But thank you guys so much for coming out. And thank you for the final super chat here. Between tonight and Atlanta, less cars equals better super speedway racing with this car. Really fun race overall. Great coverage as always, Jared. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And hey, maybe at some point we can have a 1 year where we go back to Daytona for the Clash. I don't know if it's not going to be as much of a wreck fest as the Gen 6 races, right? We'll see. Thank you guys so much for coming on out tonight. Enjoy your Sunday, one of the last Sundays off until the off season. And I will see you a ton this week. So till then, have a good one, y'all.